Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classics. This episode number is 2140. Oh, 2054 and Doubleshot 2048. I have two X-Men related trades. First up we have is the New Mutants Epic Collection Volume 1 Revival. This one is going to be the shortest of the Epic Collections because it's only a 100-issue comic book, and, well, the final one basically just collects from what I can tell, it looks like Volume 7 collects the Rob Liefeld run. This, of course, is from the first year of the run. Now, this book has basically Marvel Team 100, which doesn't make no sense because it came before the series. I'll get to the reason why. Marvel Graphic Novel number 4, which is debut New Mutants, the first 12 issues of New Mutants, and also they also include in here Marvel Team number 6, the Magic miniseries, which was the first volume, and Uncanny X-Men 167. Now, why is Marvel Team 100 here? Well, there's a very simple reason why. Karma is her debut. Yep, it makes a debut in that book. And she doesn't say the name Karma in the book, and there's a whole thing with her and her family that's popped up occasionally over the years, mostly involving her evil uncle. Yeah, she's basically been heavily developed over the years, and I think currently she's in the current New Mutants book. I believe so. And it's just a team story between Spider-Man, Cloak and Dagger, and I think it was the Fantastic Four. And that was the reason for the team up. The Cloak and Dagger one that comes in the Marvel Team Annual. Yes. Now, that's the first thing happening here. Next up, they have the Marvel Comic number 4, which they explain in the book that, the X-Men believe did this epic deal with the Brood. So, Charles Xavier forms a brand new team comprised of Karma, of course, Wolfsbane, who they introduce her basically as part of one of those witch hunts because she's possessed by a demon, despite the fact she's a mutant. Yeah, and of course, Moira Taggart tells the guy, "Hey, you're trespassing my land. Leave." They're like, "Fine, we'll leave. We'll see her and we'll kill her." Yeah. They call a woman who is a mutant, who can turn into a werewolf, they call her a demon. Wow. And by the way, this is written by Chris Claremont who wrote this. Yes. With Bob McLean on the artwork. Now, yes, he's one who co-created the Mutants. Now, did he work on this Marvel Team issue, you might ask? I don't think so. No. The Marvel Team issue this was one of the stories on here by Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, and Bob Witczek did the issue. Mm-hmm. Now, the other people working on these issues are Bill Manslow, who worked on the Marvel Team Annual, with the other artists being, besides Bob McLean, Paul Smith, Sal Buscema, John Buscema, and Ron Fries. And so they basically introduce these people one by one. Now, in the case of Sunspot, he was playing a soccer game, and apparently one of the people was being antagonistic toward him, so he transformed into the Sunspot character. They do introduce his mother later on in the series. Now, here's the thing. His skin is very dark, but the thing is, he's not black. No. Sunspot is not black. Despite being sort of colored as that, he's not really black at all. He is Brazilian. Yes, he is Brazilian. And here's the thing. His mother is white. His father, I think, might be Hispanic. Basically, he's biracial. They introduce his father a little later on, and his father is a jerk. And he basically disowns him because basically he's a mutant. Yeah. As Danny Moonstar, she did not want to join up with Charles Xavier because, well, he's her words, a whitey. That's her words. And though she had joined the team anyways, they also introduced Cannonball, Samuel Gertrude, who basically become a primary character in the Marvel Comic Universe for years to come. As a matter of fact, he stayed with the team up until the final issue. He was here the whole run. Now you might be curious though. New Mutants. Where's Warlock? Where's Doug Ramsey? Where's Ileana? They're not part of the team yet. Legion is actually introduced in issue 8 of this book. Yep. So They all give them their costumes, which is basically similar to the old X-Men trainee costume. So they need Moonstone, who became Moonshine, that's her code name. Charles thought she was slightly out of uniform because she was not wearing the traditional X-Men belt and she was wearing the boots. Now, the reason why she did that because she didn't want people to forget of her Cheyenne heritage. I think it was Cheyenne. It wasn't Cherokee. It was Cheyenne. Yeah, she did not want to forget her heritage, and Xavier didn't have really much issue after she explained it. And also, basically, then we have, the first few issues of the book, right afterwards, the first 3 issues, where we found out that the X-Men were, in fact, alive. And thanks to the events of issue 167, where Kitty Pryde got demoted, because apparently she was too young and immature, and that led into the infamous quote that Joss Whedon brought back, where Kitty Pryde said, Professor X is a jerk. Yes, a meme that has been frequently been requoted several times over the years, though she basically got back in the X-Men anyways after lots of lobbying with Charles Xavier to how mature she is, despite being only, here's the thing, when Kitty Pryde joined the X-Men, she was only 13 years old. Yep. And I believe to date, she's supposed to be the youngest person to join the X-Men. Yes, I believe so. But you might be curious though, did she appear part of this book as part of the team? Nope. Never did. Because the 169 was coming for that one. And then immediately afterwards, right after issue 4, now mostly we get, now, you probably think, okay, now one thing also we dealt with was a thing called Demon Bear and Selene. They have not shown up yet. So don't worry about that. So, by the way, Leandra's in the series, along with Charles Xavier. Basically, Xavier is in this book while the X-Men deal with whatever's going on in their book. So, and by the way, this is before Magneto became the instructor for them. There's also something here with the Silver Samurai, which just reference the half pages of Wolverine, which is published around the same period of time as these issues came out. Okay, if you're curious, the stuff here came out from the period of 1980 to 1984. Yes, if you're curious, the Martin 100 that came out December 1980, and the Marvel graphic novel was released 2 years later, and the initial series started in 1983, and it continued on for a decade before it was discontinued in 1981 to make room for X-Force, which I've discussed that whole first year of that book, thanks to the X-Force Epic Collection Volume 1. Of course, I have also talked about the Execution song as well. Yep. So, and the one thing that the movie did get wrong here when it comes to Mutants, I think, Mutants is a horror comic. No, it isn't. There are horror elements in it. Yes. One thing I also appreciate about the Mutants is the logo. I love the 3D logo. It reminds me of the logo they used for Kenny X-Men, which they used that for years. Yes. Though the X-Men 3D logo, this is basically a 3D logo. They first introduced that issue 50 because they used the old logo that Jack Kirby introduced. So, yeah, aside from dealing with stuff with Legion, of course, they have one issue where they had help a friend of theirs who was dealing with a stalker who had a thing for her. And the reason why that was because apparently his parents were very abusive toward him. And yes, like I mentioned, the Silver Samurai stay with Viper. And of course, they do mention here that Silver Samurai, you see, Silver Samurai is illegitimate child. Well, he's illegitimate because he was basically, he was the son of a mistress of the person whose father is I think it's supposed to be a businessman, and because it was illegitimate, now according to him, he was supposed to get the business that went to his sister, Mariko. You're thinking Mariko Yoshido, who in the 80s was Wolverine's fiance. Yep. And of course he's here working with Viper, a character from Captain America comics. And of course they also did with Silver is basically looking for Karma, and then eventually they find her. There's also deals here with the Hellfire Club, and this is of course, like I said before, debut of Selene to make debut I think in issue 13. the stuff here with Native Americans. And the one thing I was not really a big fan of seeing this is the way they colored Native Americans. They colored them, the artist decided to color them as red. Okay. I'm not sure if this was basically a... Now, I don't blame, basically, Marvel when they collect this. They didn't change Danny Moonstar to the way she normally looks nowadays, where she looks normal. She's not colored red because she's Native American. The whole thing of the red skin thing, when it comes to Native Americans, that is an old racist term. Now you're probably thinking, why didn't Marvel, like, if this was released, like, in the last year or two, why didn't Marvel go back and recolor the Danny Moonstar stuff? Because Marvel does not want to do that. They present this stuff how it was printed back in the 1980s, but with the modern style. Yes, she was colored that way in the 80s, and now, look, here is Sunspot. You look at him, you look, oh wait, is that a black guy? No, he's Brazilian. Yeah. Though, I think nowadays he's been a little more lighter skinned, and I do appreciate the fact they actually did change that a bit. There's a lot of stuff here with Romans, but a lot of stuff here is just pure classic stuff when it comes to Marvel Comics, and this stuff in here is really good. I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's that damn good. If you're curious about New Mutants, and if you're not a fan of the movie that came out a few years ago, check this epic collection out. You're probably thinking, wow, this is so drastically different movie. Because the movie, aside from adapting some characters, had barely... Oh, by the way, the Magic miniseries, I'm just going to mention that. That miniseries, the one thing about it is basically a little girl where it's basically her with the guy called D'Amico, I think his name is, where he's the character from the pages of Kazar. Yes, and they mentioned Kazar in the book. And here's the strange thing. This is a demon who's in love with a little girl who later gets aged up a little bit thanks to this miniseries, and later on she becomes part of the Mutants anyways. I'm not surprised they included this in here because it was published at the time, so why not? Alright, next up is the Marauders. Yep, the Marauders. This, of course, is the relaunch by Steve Orlando. Yeah, Gary Duggan is no longer in this book. Yeah, that was quite strange. So this actually was the second X-Men book to hit the restart button. First it was X-Men, now it's Marauders' turn. And if you think, though, Gary Duggan's already 2 books now. I mean, about a couple years ago, he was doing this book, and he was doing Cable. But Cable got discontinued after 12 issues. Marauders continued for quite a while, and was relaunched after 27 issues. Now, here's the thing about the annual. By the way, this book collects the first annual for the series, and the first 5 issues. The annual is mostly was released just prior to releasing issue 27, but it's taking place after 27. It's mostly bridging the gap between volumes. That's most of what it serves for. And we have a new line for the book. Now, Kitty Pryde is the leader of the team. There are some members who were part of the team who are no longer on the team, like Storm. Storm is off in X-Men Red. So, got a brand new lineup here, which is comprised of Daken. Yes, he joins the roster. I'm not sure why Marvel waited a long time for him to be featured in a book after the cancellation of X Factor. Because it seems as though Marvel didn't know what to do with him. So they also added, of course, Bishop's on the team too. Along with, let's see, we also have Psylocke. And... oh, look, here's Doc in his old Dark Wolverine mask, which is so fun. So here's your lineup for the Marauders as basically this run. We have Kitty Pryde, Bishop, Iceman, Psylocke, Daken, Tempo, Amora, Samos, Christian Frost, Emma Frost, and Sebastian Shaw. Now, in the case of Amora and Daken, these two were carryovers from X Factor. Psylocke was from the page previously was featured in the pages of Hellions. Though Scalp Hunter is in the book. And by the way, it was revealed toward the end of Hellions that Scalp Hunter was actually in love with Psylocke. I mean, why not? Psylocke's hot. Iceman here is quite strange, though He later at some point would actually leave his boyfriend, Christian Frost, who was Emma Frost's brother. Yep. Yeah, the whole thing, first thing you see here is like a story featuring Daken. That's from the Reign of X stuff. And we started basically with Bishop and Kitty Pryde dealing with the structure of their ship they had, the Marauder. Of course, they do get a brand new ship and new crew. It's got like a Brimson, and of course, yeah, they get brand new crew because some basically quit and did their own things. So that leads into the start of this particular run, where they deal with stuff here in Krakatoa, and of course, they get another member, Cassandra Nova. Yes. Yeah, Kitty Pryde referred to her as Xavier's homicidal sister. Yeah, that's 100% completely true. She is homicidal. I mean, she was the one responsible for basically causing a Tri-Sentinel to massacre 16 million mutants. Now, the thing is, she's not basically very happy to see her. Because no one's happy to see Cassandra Xavier. Well, the thing with her is she's a parasite. And if you're curious, who was responsible for bringing the disgusting old lady in the books? Grant Morrison. Yes, he created this character. Now, prior to this book, she was last seen in the pages of X-Men Red. Not the current one, the previous one by Tom Taylor. And she joins the team, and of course she has to go to frickin' space. Yep, they have to go to space to deal with stuff with the Shi'ar. They're thinking they're pirates. They're basically pirates, legalized pirates. They're basically privateers who work for a corporation. And you have to go into space? Yeah, this is weird. So, the reason why they're here is deal with the first mutant stuff. That's most of what this is. And the whole mission of the Marauders is to rescue mutants. And it's basically a big sci-fi epic, which is just really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. And eventually, of course, the people who were responsible for the King Crimson are arrested. And, of course, revealed they're actually cowards. Now, this book was really good. Got swashbuckling stuff in here where you think of pirates. Just pure fun. I get this book a 9.5 out of 10. Steve Leo was doing a great job with this book. Yep. Yeah. That's pretty much it, particular review. Next up is going to be one more comic corner, and then basically later on be, well, I might just do for Evolution first because there's only just a single episode. I want just two. Okay? Next video.